Hello, CA195. It's your favorite art director, Joel Garcia. I want to go through a quick demonstration of Maya's interface and possibly get into some basic modeling in Maya. Now, before we begin, I want to recommend that whoever wants to experiment with this program, please acquire a mouse with a middle button or a scroll wheel. Either one of these can help out with navigating Maya's three-dimensional spaces. Secondly, since we are going to be dealing with three-dimensional spaces, we'll be dealing with three axes versus two. A two-dimensional plane has two axes, a x-axis, which runs horizontally, and a y-axis, which runs vertically. This picture right here illustrates a three-dimensional space. The x-axis runs horizontally, left and right. The z-axis runs horizontally, forward and backwards, and the y-axis runs up and down vertically. Now, before we begin, I also want to tell you about three different basic model types in Maya, which are subdivisions, NURBS, and polygons. Each are composed of faces, edges, and vertices. The one that we will be focusing on today is polygons, and I believe we will be focusing on that specific type throughout the production. So, let's start up Maya. Now, to introduce you to the interface of Maya, up here is the menu bar. It works just like any other standard program, Photoshop, Illustrator, Word, you name it. Under the menu bar, we have the status line that contains toggles and buttons used for object manipulation and frequently used functions. Under the status line, we have the shelf. This area allows you to add customizable quick buttons. And as you can see, there are some default buttons readily available. Down here, we have the range slider. It's for animators, and it allows for a focus on specific pieces of animations created here in Maya. Under the range slider, we have the command line. This is Maya's way of communicating with us. If something works or Maya encounters an error, it will confirm it right here. In other words, it provides feedback. On the right side, we have three options available to fill this area. Those include the attribute editor, tool settings, and channel box. We will focus on the attribute editor today, and what it does is it manipulates settings for an object. Over here in the viewport is the main area that you will use to interact with objects in a three-dimensional or two-dimensional space. These objects include polygons, NURBS, and subdivisions. Over on the left side, we have the toolbox, and here are the many tools that you can use in Maya. These tools include the Select tool, Lasso tool, Paint Selection tool, Move tool, Rotate tool, Scale tool, Universal Manipulator tool, Soft Modification tool, and the Show Manipulator tool. This button is free of anything right now, and it will register whatever quick button I select up here. Down here we have two panels. We have the single perspective view panel and the four view panel. This basically allows us to switch between four view and perspective view. This one is a button for perspective view, and this one is for four view. Perspective view allows you to use, or should I say, it allows you to see an object in multiple perspectives. Four view allows you to see your object in perspective view, but also allows you to see it in three orthographic views, which include side, front, and top. These are two-dimensional, and this one is three-dimensional. Switching back over to perspective view. Perspective view is the default view. So whenever you open up Maya, this will be the first view you will see. Now, in order to navigate in this view, there are 3 mouse button commands that you can use. Hitting the Alt button on the keyboard and hitting the left mouse button on the mouse will allow you to rotate the perspective in the viewport. You can rotate up, down, left, and right, and of course it will move around an object as you rotate, as opposed to just sliding, as can be done in the pan view, which you can activate by hitting the Alt button on the keyboard and the middle button on your mouse. So this allows you to slide up, down, left, and right on a 2-dimensional plane, and unlike Orbit, it stays on this 2-dimensional plane, and it won't move around your object in the 3-dimensional space. Hitting the Alt button and the right mouse button allows you to zoom in and zoom out of the viewport. This can also be achieved by using the scroll wheel. So if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in by scrolling forward and zoom out by scrolling back. Alright, so let's check out some of Maya's basic tools. I've placed a cube down on the grid so that we can use some of the tools, and I will also be switching over to shader mode. Excuse me, it's that one. Okay. Right now I have the select tool selected. This allows us to select an entire object or any object on the viewport, in the viewport. To deselect an object, just click outside of it. To select it, click on top of it. Next, I will show you the move tool. This is the move tool right here. Okay, so as you can see, there are 3 arrows. The green arrow represents the y-axis, the blue arrow represents the z-axis, and the red arrow represents the x-axis. And of course, if I pull along either one, the box will move accordingly on each axis. So the blue one will allow us to move using the z-axis, and the y would allow us to move the box on the y-axis. Clicking on the center will allow us to move the entire box. Of course, it will only move on the 2-dimensional plane that we're currently looking through. So it's not actually moving in 3D, it's moving in 2D. The only way you can get an object to really move in 3D is by using the move tool and moving the box accordingly depending on which axis you want to use. Next, we will use the scale tool. Put this box right there. Here is the scale tool. The scale tool has 4 boxes, 4 colored boxes. We have the yellow central tool, the yellow central box, which will allow us to scale the entire box on all axes. The red box will allow us to scale the box on the x-axis, and the blue box will allow us to scale the box on the z-axis. And of course, the green will allow us to scale using the y-axis. Note that whenever I select a box or an arrow, my selection will turn yellow. Okay, so these are the 3 main tools that we will focus on today. And now I will show you how to properly save. But before we do that, I will show you how to make a project directory. So first I will select this entire object and delete it. Okay. In order to create a project directory, we go to the File drop-down menu, and then we scroll over to the project window. Select it, and then we hit the new button on the window that has just appeared. I will name my current project example 1, and currently it is set to go into my documents, but for this tutorial I will have it set for the desktop. Now I will hit accept, and we will see that Maya has placed the folder onto my desktop. Moving back to Maya, I will show you how to save, but before I do that, I want to explain that a directory will allow you to keep all of your files, all the files you create in Maya, in that one folder. So whenever you need to, you can use that directory and take it with you on, say, a USB flash drive to make sure that you have all the proper files to upload your object into another computer with another version of Maya. So it'll come in handy to make sure that you have what you need to work. Now, here's how you save properly. Go to the File drop-down menu and go to the Save Scene As selection. Click on it, and I highly recommend that everyone uses the ASC2 format in order to save. It will make sure that you can work with different versions of Maya. So like, let's say that you're working in 2012 on one computer and you want to work on 2011. Saving with this file will guarantee that your file will work on a different version of Maya. So yes, that is the format you should use. Now, in order to export Maya into the proper format that we will need for UDK, scroll down to the Export All selection, and this Export All menu will pop up. At the bottom, there will be this drop-down menu. Select FBX Export. This will be the main file format that we will use in UDK. So whenever you guys want to save and have a file prepped to go into UDK, save it under FBX. Before we move on to video 2, I want to demonstrate how to access the different components of a given object in the viewport. So I will begin by drawing a cube. Okay, we have the cube set. In order to access the different components of a cube, or should I say of an object, let me remind you first what the components are. They are vertices, faces, and edges. In order to access each one, we're going to have to go into this menu right here. That is access through or by pressing the right mouse button and holding it down. Now, I will hover over the selection I need and let go of the right mouse button. Currently, we are in edge mode. This will allow us to select the edges of a given object. Going back to that menu, we can select face mode. Face mode will basically allow us to select the different faces of an object. And vertex mode, as you've guessed, allows us to select the vertices of a given object. So yes, that's how you access the different components for a polygon. Accessing these components are vital to manipulating an object in Maya and can definitely make a difference in creating a very complex geometric shape. Thanks for watching, and I will be posting part two pretty soon. So yes, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me anything. You guys have my Gmail, and of course you have my cell phone number, so please feel free to text me or email me any of your questions. Thanks again, and thanks for watching.